morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe is a failed state. This must be said again and again and again because it is true. And one of the main reasons why we are a failed state, we failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. 45 years and counting, the nation has been stuck with this corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical Zanu PF dictatorship that has managed to stay in power, but only because they rig elections. So Zimbabwe's route out of this economic meltdown and political paralysis is to implement reforms to make sure the country has free, fair, and credible elections. And the people, the ordinary people of Zimbabwe, have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. It is no exaggeration that Zanu PF has been in campaign mode ever since the country's 2023 elections. But that mode is hotting up. We are being daily bombarded with adverts such as this one, leaving no one behind, President Emerson Mnangagwa. And the small print, it says, in all our programs, it is important that no one is left behind, especially women, youth, veterans of our struggle, and the people with disabilities. Well, the truth of the matter is, all those people and others besides are living in abject poverty today. More so those who have got disabilities or for whatever reasons do not have the right political connections. Zimbabwe owes this man a thank you, stated whoever wrote that poster. Well, if Mnangagwa was finally confident, cocksure, that he has hit the formula to deliver his so-called Vision 2030, i.e., turn around the Zimbabwe's economy, uplift the lives of those living in abject poverty today, so that in 5 years' time, 2030, the nation will be enjoying an upper middle income status. The income of an individual to achieve that will have to increase threefold, at least, in 5 years. The truth of the matter is, Zimbabwe's economic meltdown continues. Just earlier on, I was reading of how the Harare City Council has failed to procure tar to repair the potholes in many of the roads in the capital. And so they are repairing them with gravel, because it's a waste of time. Because the gravel will be washed away no sooner than it is laid. Zimbabwe's economy is in a mess, and that is not changing. Mnangagwa has been in power now since 2017, following the military coup. The economy has not improved. If anything, it has got worse. Corruption has never been this bad. But if Mnangagwa is so sure that he is finally improving the situation and no one is being left behind, then I challenge him to implement the democratic reforms to make sure the 2028 elections are free, fair, and credible. SADC and the AU election observers condemned Zimbabwe's 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. Mnangagwa himself heard that, and in typical style, he wanted to ignore it. He dismissed it as deja vu, typical of the regime. We cannot deny that the elections were rigged, but if he's so sure that he has turned the economy around, then he must implement the reforms. This is what he said following the
Zanu PF ukavona vavengi vako vachikurumbidza nekuchikanganisa, ukavona vachiti Zanu PF yakaipa, farai, because you are doing correct things for your country. Homu takaita maelections edu, kuna vamwe vaitaura zvisina musoro zvikanzi maelections arafamba zvakanaka, ndezvavo.
Our SADC and the AU election observers, our enemies now, they said the elections were not free, fair, and credible because they were not. We didn't even have something as basic as a verified voters roll. Zimbabwe is a failed state. And we are where we are because for the last 45 years, we've failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. We desperately need to get out of this hole. And the only sure way of doing it is making sure elections are free, fair, and credible. Mnangagwa is not going to implement any reforms because he fears that if he did that, the people of Zimbabwe will reject Zanu PF, as they did in March 2008. Then he was the one who spearheaded the electoral coup that was conducted then. He even boasts about it. Here is Mnangagwa boasting about his role in 2008.
2008 patakaita ma-elections pakaposa papinda Tsvangirai ndandiri election agent ya president. Ma-results abuda tiri party headquarters vamutasa vanga vari secretary vedu ve-administration vamutasa muripi ndafona ndiri kwarusapi Como kwenda kwarisapeseka maresults achibuda kudai. Vanga aiwa zvako izvo Mnangagwa ndezvako enda kumusha. Office vanga vabisa zvinhu zvavo zvose. Watofunga kuti zani yadini? Yaparara. President ofona zvakamira sei? Kati ndomamira zvakaita takatodini? Katida sei manje? Mama ndikati abvudzai baba ntaure navo. Baba gadzirai politburo, cabinet. Musarangarira zvimwe zvinhu, gadzirai chi? Cabinet. Asi nangoda kuti muzive kuti 2008 maresults abuda vamutasa vakatiza.
As a country we face a generational transition. Vana vesa vari kuma below 35, they are crying out for help. The country is in a mess. Arusuru. We know we are inheriting a mess. We know this country has been left with nothing.
I'm assuring you that starting from tomorrow, you'll see a different nation from what you have seen or read on the news about these results and everything. Where we are going ahead there, the situation will be very different. What we said to our people, they could not see with their own eyes. We are going to act as we see it fit. We are prepared to go the whole distance.
If Mnangagwa was to take on that challenge and implement the democratic reforms to make sure 2028 elections are free, fair, and credible, Zanu PF will lose those elections. And he will be forced to carry out another Operation Mavhotera Papi if he wanted Zanu PF to remain in power. But he has learned the lesson. He's not going to implement any reforms. So what are we going to do? Well, the solution is that people of Zimbabwe, particularly now that SADC and the AU condemned the 2023 elections as flawed and illegal, they should also stand firm and demand that we should not be having all these meaningless elections, which we all know are flawed. The main problem we have had in Zimbabwe is that the opposition, out of greed, have conned people to participate in these flawed elections. We, the people, must now wake up to the reality that the opposition, MDC, CCC, have their own invested interests. They will participate in these flawed elections, no matter how flawed the process gets, out of greed. We are the ones who are being shortchanged. Because when we participate, we give the process legitimacy. The fight for 2028 is to make sure that Zanu PF does not get legitimacy. And I believe that if we can stop even half of those Chamisa Chete Brigade members participating in another flawed election in 2028, SADC and the AU will deny Zanu PF legitimacy. This will get us back to the situation we were in 2008, when SADC forced Zanu PF to sign the global political agreement that gave birth to the GNU. The number one purpose of the 2008 to 2013 GNU was to implement the democratic reforms. The fact that Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends failed to implement even one token reform in those 5 years is because Mugabe bribed them. He offered them the trappings of high office, the E-class Mercedes-Benz, for all the deputy ministers, senators, deputy prime minister and prime minister. And for the other leaders of the opposition, the MPs and senators, the very generous salaries and allowances. And they forgot about the reforms. I believe that if Zanu PF is denied political legitimacy in 2028 and we have another GNU, those reforms will be implemented. It will be up to us as the people to make sure that the reforms are implemented this time. We should not sleep on the job this time. Get the reforms implemented and guarantee free, fair, and credible election, and you will put Zimbabwe back on the democratic path and with a chance of a meaningful recovery. What we are being promised here by Mnangagwa, no one is being left behind. It's just propaganda. The regime is trying to convince us that the economy is getting well, it's getting better. And yet we can see with our own eyes that nothing is improving. But again, let's give him the credit of the doubt. Yes, Ms. Mnangagwa, you are not leaving anybody behind. But if you believe in your own propaganda, then make sure that everybody has a meaningful say in the governance of the country by making sure 2028 elections are free, fair, and credible. Leaving no one behind could not be more pronounced than if you were to make sure that everyone, every Zimbabwean is finally has a meaningful say in the governance of the country. Millions of Zimbabweans have been left behind because they've been denied that fundamental right. Indeed, the right to free, fair, and credible election is more than a right. It is the essence of good governance. And Zimbabwe is a failed state because for the last 45 years, we have failed to have a competent and accountable government. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.